Hello, everyone, and welcome. Leslie Hassler here with your Biz Rules Business Coaching. We're back for another afternoon ditty. I need a name for the show. When I did this for a couple of years when I was waiting at carpool for my kids. So carpool we have a neighborhood school, so we don't have buses. So I would go do carpool, but you had to get there 30 or 45 minutes early in order to get a spot. And so I would be there 30 or 35 minutes, and somebody had challenged me to be talking every day, as it were. And I was like, well, that's the only consistent time I have in my entire schedule. So I'll do coaching from the carpool. That made perfect sense. I'm not in the carpool. Doesn't seem like it would make great sense today, but I do. I need a name for the show. Let me know what you thought. I was like, well, I could do live with Leslie. It sounds very news reporter-y, doesn't it? Live on the scene. I grew up in Houston, and we had Marvin Zindler. And so I always think of Marvin Zindler, who was one of the newscasters. But he just had a definite way of talking. So if you've got an idea of what our show name should be, let me know. We'll come up with it. But until then, we're going to keep on talking. I did not get a message out to those who had wanted live notifications. I will say, Christine says she's looking forward to this one. Good, because I'm looking forward to it too. I got a new process. So I am forever developing processes for myself just to make things easy. So look at all my notes. Aren't they beautiful? Oh, and they're hopefully, I felt like I was wandering sometimes when I do these things. So I gave a little bit, I gave a little more structure to it. So howdy, Christine. I hope you're doing well. So what we're going to do is, if you'd like notifications when we go live, I'm going to put a link in when we go live. I cannot talk and type. I am not that multitask. For notifications, I'm seriously cannot talk and type when we go live. So there's the link that you can get notified when we go live. I'll get in a better process with it. I still am filling out a process with this. So that'll probably be 2 times during the week when we go live for the next bit of time, and we'll be doing that, and then you'll get notifications in Messenger. But I am scheduling through StreamYard. I've been pretty happy with this platform. I love that I can see Christine's name. That's so exciting. So if you do see me live, please say howdy. If not, if you're catching this on the replay, type in replay. If you want notifications, just click that link and we'll get through. So today we're really talking about how to structure delegations to get things off your plate for good, like to never get them back. And I see a lot. Sometimes it's with my clients and they're kind of paying me to help them, right? Sometimes it's just in the experiences, and I've learned, it's so funny. I said someone today, I was like, I have an idea for you. Would you like to hear it? A lot of times people just aren't open to the improvement just quite yet. And so I can't share, but I can definitely observe, and I will tell you, it fuels my story ideas for you. So we all benefit in it. And this is a situation where I'm watching some owners that are in a massive growth period. So super exciting, right? And how they're delegating. And it just had me think of, really and truly, when you're working with somebody or you're talking to your best friend in business, you're gonna tell them about all the things that are on your plate, and you just can't seem to grow because you're working on all this stuff and you never stop working, and you know the conversation, right? And the next thing you're gonna hear is, well, delegate. Oh, that's so simple. I mean, we tell each other that you need to delegate, and we make it sound like a task. Like if you don't check delegation off your list, then you're not getting it done. You're not being able to move forward. And the truth is, delegation is huge when it comes to growth and massive when it comes to scalability, right? And it's really and truly, I think, if you're ready to get out of being the sole worker bee, and you want, I'll give you my favorite definition of business. that was given to me, but it's a business is a successful, profitable commercial, which means we make money, venture that can run without you. That's that whole delegation and team aspect, right? So if that's your goal and you're done, you don't care who does it as long as it gets done, you've kind of reached that moniker, then this is why this conversation is so important right now. So if you're just starting off, maybe it's not as important, but pay attention, because you'll actually be able to work delegation into your growth plan a lot faster. But if you are at that point to where it's like a make or break, like you're going to break if you do one more thing, pay attention. I want to share the mistakes that I see. I want to share what that costs you. And then I want to tell you 3 things that you can do to actually improve and understand the structure of delegation. So first off, the number 1 mistake I see is that we treat delegation as a task. I kind of told you that already, right? It's something just to click off. Delegation as a task leads to abdication, right? The worst thing you can do in a delegation is basically throw it at somebody else and expect magic to happen at the end. So this tends to happen when people dump tasks. Guess what? You're taking care of this from here on out, right? And that's about it. The second mistake that I see is that we give the tasks to the person who's always been able to get the job done. Well, that doesn't work either, right? It overloads one person, and I'll talk to you about what that really costs you in just a second. And then we do a thing with responsibility. So when we actually delegate roles or responsibility, which is more than a task, right? Then we tend to do it in a way that does not get employee enrollment, motivation, and ownership, because that's the other half of the coin. Like your mindset, you're ready to delegate. You're ready to go through the little bit of scraped knees and little cuts as everyone learns how to do this together. That's step number 1, right? The next step is just as crucial, and that's enrolling, motivating, inspiring, and setting up your team to succeed, because a lot of times that doesn't happen. So if you get into these 3 mistakes, really what you're going to see is that your biggest fear, the fear of it not getting done, the fear of it not being right, the fear of pissing somebody off at the end of the day will come true. It just will. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. The second thing is like in that case where we just gave all the tasks to the person that always gets the job done, is we've solved the situation, but not solved the problem, right? We just moved the problem to somebody else's plate. So if the problem is that you're overwhelmed, you have too much to do, you're nearing burnout, when you do it in that way, right, you just move the burnout from you to an employee. So what's going to happen? They're going to build up resentment. They're going to get overwhelmed and burned out, and then they're going to quit. And it's going to come right back to you, right? And then you're going to tell yourself the story that it never works, which isn't true. It's just you haven't been doing it the right way, right? Nobody's told you what it is to do next. So if we can do this right, then we're fixing things, and it's a forever fix, right? It's not just a hot potato, which is really what I see happening in businesses, is a hot potato game. So what we need to understand that delegation, this is our key concept, right? Key thing to get. If you don't walk away with anything else, get this one thing. Delegation is a process. It is not a light switch. You don't just flip it on, flip it off. It doesn't work like that, okay? It is a process that changes the culture of work in a business, right? Because we all have habits that we've been doing up to a certain point in time that we decide it's time for delegation, and we have to change that culture. Like if you are the chief fire putter outer, you're the chief problem solver, you're the chief everything, and your employees know that, right? Like I saw a situation with my husband this week. And so he had an employee was having a problem. He decided he would go fix the problem, and it's an experiential thing. So they have to do it, so to speak. And I called him and it was 5:30. I was like, well, where are you? And he's like, I'm on my way to the patient's house. And I was like, okay, great. Are they with you? And he was like, no. I'm like, okay, you fixed the situation, but not the problem, right? The better management thing to do at that point in time, and I told him this too, so I'm not speaking out of turn, is to bring that individual along, to not necessarily, in his case, he has to show. He has to be able to show so somebody can learn so that they can do it themselves. In other cases, it's just really about helping the employee problem solve for themselves, helping them think through that process of what's next. How do I troubleshoot this for myself? And then supporting them, right? So you're fixing the problem, not just the situation. That's really what we want to do. And we want to do it in a way that's scalable, right? That it's not going to come back, and that you can get on to the next level of business that you need to be doing, because you need to be doing only those things that you can do. On board with that? So let's talk about our 1, 2, 3. Here's the 3 things to keep in mind. 1, I want you to consider the hierarchy. And most small businesses don't consider hierarchy. When you are expanding, especially as you're bringing team on, you need a vision of where your hierarchy is going to, so that you can keep balance of responsibilities. Huge thing. I think the best rule of thumb I can give to you is most one person can only effectively manage 3 to 4 people. That means you can only effectively manage 3 to 4 people. The people below you each, if they've got some leadership skills, can only effectively manage 3 to 4 people. So think about that. And even if you've got, and I'll use this in small businesses for responsibilities, because we might wear many hats. But if you were to do a org chart, like you had all the money in the world to hire the team that you needed to hire, how would you divide all those hats? Where would they sit? And then how many of those hats are each person responsible? Because it's generally like managing a whole person. There's reasons why we have people just called secretaries, and reasons we have people just called accountants, because not all the work is simple. Some of the work does take a full body. All right. So think about that, like plan out your hierarchy so that you know who it is today. Do the whole org chart, right? That it should be. And if it's you and your assistant, put your names in the org chart, right? This helps you understand when it's a capacity issue within an individual or a capacity issue within the business, meaning you need more people. Okay. I'm not a proponent of solving problems by throwing bodies at it, is what I say when we hire too fast and haven't put this thought process through the hierarchy and the roles and the responsibilities. And it will keep you from hiring reactively and hiring more strategically, which is the name of the game. So number 2 is practice the power of 3. So if it's a task, understand that you're going to be meeting with that person at least 3 times. 3 times. And maybe 2 times, but one of those meetings is with yourself, where you're planning out the process that you're going to be asking. You critically think about, what is your goal? When does it need to be done? How does it need to be done? And a concept of paint it done. What does that look like? And then the educational part of, and these are the 5 steps you take, right? That could be a meeting. I'll call that a meeting, because it's such a huge step in being successful when you delegate. But understand, you're going to have a meeting with the individual to enroll and educate. And then you're going to have a meeting afterwards to fine tune and improve. You may even have a 3rd meeting that once you get there, you find out it's not even necessary. Most people don't even do that much. They go, here's the task, get it done, without a whole lot of preparation, strategic intention, and then setting that employee up for success. Okay. And even guys, even if this is a subcontractor, it's still the same thing. Okay. So if you're going to transition responsibilities, okay, and responsibilities is a much bigger thing. I mean, a task may be create a PDF, do invoicing or a sales tax report, right? We had my design business, we had to do sales tax. I don't do it here. But we had a whole process. and a whole process to check yourself. Like, don't come to me with the sales tax report if you haven't checked yourself, right? We had that whole process built into place so that they checked, I checked, and we could just move on. It made it so quick, guys, so quick. But if I hadn't created a process and shown them the process and walked them through it, almost like tell my clients all the time, I'm going to be the one that shows you how to fish. I'm going to teach you to fish and then go watch you fish, right? And that's really how I know you adopt something. So think about that. And then when it comes to responsibilities, instead of 3 meetings, it's 3 months. That's what it takes the average person to reach proficiency, right? To reach accuracy, to reach an expertise in being able to do it. And that you plan out those three months. So we had a client where we needed to restructure. So the process we went through is the owner was overloaded. Owner wasn't even able to take a vacation or the afternoon off, kind of a thing. So we needed to fix that. In the process of doing that, there was a lot of unhappy people, frustrated people. So we started asking the question of, what does heaven look like? What does heaven in your job look like? What would it take you to stay? And here's what we would need you to do for us to continue to employ you. Fair conversation done in the most positive way. It illuminated really interesting things. And what we wound up doing was reorganizing the entire leadership team. And instead of just saying cold turkey, guess what? This is all yours now. We had a 90-day transfer of responsibility. Like, here's the first thing you need to do. Here's the second thing you need to accomplish. And then it was purely date driven. And what happened was, it was so wonderful in this situation, because we planned for 90 days because we still have to do our jobs, right? It was done in like 6 weeks, half the time. But that was because once the person was comfortable, they just moved on to the next step and they knew what it was. And it was one of the smoothest transitions I've ever seen in my life. And the owners were able to do what the owners needed to be doing, which is really thinking strategically about the business, about the growth, about the stability. One owner even took a month-long honeymoon, and the business worked. So I know this is really doable. That process took 9 months total. I've seen it take longer, and it really comes down to how committed you are as the owner. It, hands down, the owner will always be the biggest bottleneck. And so it comes down to how you handle the transition. Maybe we'll do that as another video. That's this whole other topic. And the third thing, our last point, is really share the love. So what we need to understand is, it's really natural to compensate for a team member that doesn't perform as well as another team member. When I hear that as a reason, and it's not a reason, it's actually an excuse, there's a difference. When I hear that as the reason that we overload a certain employee because they do really well, I ask why the other employee is still here. Because for most small businesses, you can't take that. You cannot shoulder a lack of performance. You know, it's unfair, number one, to the people around you. Even when you're in a larger corporation, it is one of those little insidious things that tears apart morale in a team. So be cautious about that if you've got that as one of your issues of why you're doing that. But share the load, share the love, if you will. So if you're just offloading a task, I don't have any problem with that. Offloading a couple tasks, I don't have any problem with that. I find most of our teams, especially in small business, they just want to help. And they know they could do more, but they're watching you not let go, so they don't ask. So a lot of times they can take on tasks. Maybe they can take on the responsibility and still be within, the general framework of what you hired. But if you're going to radically change the responsibility load, you need to share the love from a monetary perspective, right? Or have a reward system built into place, whether it's bonuses, whatever it is, right? There's more than one way to take care of that issue. I think one of the biggest missteps and the mindset shifts that business owners have to get past is, well, I don't have the money for that. I'm like, well, you could have the money for that. That's the truth. It really is, right? So chances are you can find a way. But if you want this team member to do a shining job and you want to be proud of them and they want to be proud of themselves, share the love. Share the love. So that's our little conversation about structuring delegation as a process. Let me know what your thoughts are. Was that helpful? I don't think it's something that we talk about too often. We just, like I said, we just treat delegation as a task, an on and off switch, and we don't do the things we need to do to make sure it's long-term sustainable and successful. So if you're catching this conversation today and you want to get our lives, I've put the link in the comments. Just click on it. You might have to get started. It works in Facebook, but it will automatically adjust, and we only share when we go live there. So I don't take that information and use it for other purposes at all without your permission. And that is just the way I like to be treated. So this way I would like to treat you as well. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you're having a great week. I hope it's been profitable. I hope that you are navigating these troubled waters as they are and finding a good and clear path. If not, let me know. Maybe I can help. If not, I'll definitely point you in the right direction. So that's it for today, guys. Leslie Hassler with Your Biz Rules Business Coaching.